All right, so I took a quick look and I was on the right track when I showed you this problem the first time. I just had one little mistake that I was missing. So let's go through this real quick. This is a problem where you can't use L'Hopital's rule to actually solve it. So they want you to use some other form. And the form that you saw me trying to use was I was trying to multiply the top by 1 over 4 to the x and the bottom by 1 over 4 to the x. And you can see that right here. Down here I was doing that. But the problem that I ran into with doing the 1 over 4 to the x is I ended up with 3 over 4 to the x and 5 over 4 to the x. When I evaluate the limit as x approaches infinity for this, 3 over 4 to the infinity, that actually gives you 0, right? Because 3 over 4 times 3 over 4 times 3 over 4, that gets smaller and smaller and smaller, so it actually goes to 0. So this is actually 0 minus 1 on top. On the bottom, though, you get 5 over 4 to infinity. That actually gets really large and gets closer to infinity. So this part where this gets closer to 0, that's the key to the problem. I shouldn't have used 1 over 4 to the x. I should have used 1 over 5 to the x. You'll see that here. So let's go ahead and multiply the top by 1 over 5 to the x and multiply the bottom by 1 over 5 to the x. When I multiply that, I end up with limit as x approaches infinity of 3 to the x over 5 to the x minus 4 to the x over 5 to the x over 4 to the x over 5 to the x plus 5 to the x over 5 to the x. Now remember, by multiplying by the same thing on top and bottom, I didn't change the problem. It's still the same problem. I'm just altering its look. This simplifies to 1. I can combine this into a fraction to the x power. So 3/5 to the x minus 4/5 to the x over 4/5 to the x plus 1. Now this is where it gets awesome. 3/5 to the infinity power. So 3/5 to the infinity power minus 4/5 to the infinity power over 4/5 to the infinity power plus 1. That's going to give you 3/5 to the infinity. 3/5 times 3/5 times 3/5. You keep multiplying that, you get closer and closer to 0. So this is technically limit. That's the limit. Its limit would be 0. 3/5 to the infinity, its limit is 0. This is also getting closer and closer to 0. 4/5 times 4/5 times 4/5 minus 0. If this one on top does, this one on the bottom does. So that's 0 plus 1. So my limit is 0. So how do you solve this problem? You multiply by the highest base. You do 1 over whatever the highest base is, 1 over 5 to the x, and you multiply that through, and then that's how you can end up with limits for each of these little fractions to be 0. And you can figure out that your limit as x approaches infinity for the overall function is 0.